Anchor. So Anupama is a psychologist and she has a private practice from Kandivali. And she is also a facilitator for adolescent education and prevention of child sexual abuse. Okay, so now this is our third edition of this Mental Health Awareness Forum. Let me just share with you a little background that how the need for this came up and why I thought that something like this should be done. So in my practice, what I was seeing that the clients that were coming to me, they were coming at a stage wherein the symptoms had become too bad. Okay, so they were actually going through physiological symptoms. For example, they were experiencing tremors, palpitations, or constant crying. They were just not able to take care of their day-to-day, routine also. So that was the time, mostly I'm saying, so not everyone, right? So, I kind of then figured out that, what's the reason? So two things came out. One is that people do not have awareness around mental health issues, all right, more so in our country, but yeah, generally it's very less awareness around mental health. So what I mean by that is I would like to give an example of my frozen shoulder. So I am suffering from this frozen shoulder. So now I am on treatment for this for the past 1.5 years. And when I started treatment, it was exactly the same. It was really becoming so painful that I was not able to sleep in the nights also. And that was the time I took help from the doctor. Now, the reason it took me so long was because I did not know that there is something on frozen shoulder and that these are the symptoms. So I was experiencing pains in the night and, I was going on changing my pillows and I was doing all sorts of things, but never realized that, okay, it's a frozen shoulder and I should take help. So something like that. So, another thing that happens is that there's a lot of stigma that is attached. And many of the people who have joined, thank you so much for joining. And many of my panelists, also clients, it is still a very hush topic to talk about. If somebody is suffering from some mental health issue, we do not really support that person, or we talk not so good about that person in our society, our families, friends. Most of the time, we do not understand, we do not give them the support that is required. So that's awareness and stigma. These are the two reasons, why I thought that, we should be talking about and we should be normalizing conversations around mental health. So just to share with you some statistics, mental health is, it's really becoming a huge concern, not only at an individual level for the person who is suffering, but also at a societal level and at a country level. Okay, and it's really affecting, it's the fastest growing disease or, illness that is kind of affecting everyone. According to WHO estimates, I have it in front of me, India has the highest number of depressed individuals in the world. It also says that every 7th person suffers from some form of mental disorder, right? Which is a huge number. And the Lancet Medical Journal, it says that the diagnosis of psychological disorders has doubled between 1990 and 2017. So all this seems quite scary, right? The idea of sharing this statistics is not to scare, but to become aware that the problem is there, to address the elephant in the room. And to start talking about it and to start doing something about it rather than just kind of जैसे ostrich ground के अंदर अपना मुंह छुपा के बोलता है कि everything is fine. So really kind of not doing that and, talking about it and doing something about it, right? Also, what I would like to say here is that one really doesn't need to suffer from clinical depression or anxiety in order to start taking help. One thing which I've always maintained, in whatever platform I'm speaking on, is nipping it in the bud is really helpful. Do not let the symptoms become so bad, because it takes all the more effort and it takes really all the more time. And, this suffering can be avoided. So this forum is a humble attempt towards normalizing conversations around mental health. And as far as the flow of the session is concerned, so we will just, I will quickly introduce my panelists in a moment. And then we will be asking, I and Anupama together will be asking some questions to our panelists who are my clients or who have been my clients. Okay, and since they have gone through themselves, there is nobody else who can share with you better than them, right? So that's the idea. So till about, I think for about 45 minutes or so, from 4:15 to 5 o'clock, we will be doing our question answer discussions with our panelists. And after that, the floor will be open for questions from audience, right? So we plan to close by 5:30, but generally in our experience, we have seen that there are more questions. So we are available till 6 here. Let's see how it goes. But yeah, that's how it is going to be. And the other thing is that for the benefit of everyone, मुझे लग रहा है कि थोड़ा सा हम हिंदी और इंग्लिश का मिक्सचर कॉन्वर्सेशन रखेंगे. हम थोड़ा सा बाय डिफॉल्ट तो शायद इंग्लिश ज्यादा यूज कर लेंगे, बट हम कोशिश ये करेंगे दैट we will use a mix of Hindi and English both. All right, so with that background, let me really, with extreme pleasure, I introduce my panelists to you. My first panelist is Shubhi Sharma. Yeah, hi Shubhi. Shubhi is a communications professional who was diagnosed with clinical depression in 2015. She came to therapy to me in 2018-19, right? And so it took her time to open up about it, that she really didn't know that talking to a professional can make such a big difference in her life. And in one of the previous sessions, Shubhi had shared that she got to know that she is suffering from depression when she heard Deepika Padukone talking about it, right? So that's why conversations are important. So if somebody, she didn't know that this is what it is, and that's when she thought of taking help. And since then, she has been very passionately spreading awareness around mental health. All right. So welcome, Shubhi, and thank you so much for joining for the third time. All right. My second panelist is Aditi Gudi. Okay, and she is a recent master's graduate and a budding entrepreneur, and who began therapy to work through her anxiety. I can recall the time when she was getting so dysfunctional due to her anxiety that she was not able to even apply for her master's. And, today she is a master's graduate, and she joins us from Seattle. It's about 3:30 in the night for her. So thank you so much for joining. And because she also feels very strongly, and she's not the one who, she keeps talking very frequently about her mental health issues and just spreading awareness, So I think Aditi is joining us for the second time, right? Okay. So welcome, Aditi, and thank you once again for joining in. Next, I would like to introduce Samia Lodi. Samia Lodi actually was a surprise packet for me. The speed at which she worked through, her issues amazed me. All right. I think I don't know, maybe within just 2-3 months or something, within a few sessions, she was just kind of knowing it. Once she understood, then she was very quick at, working on it. So she really turned out to be a surprise packet for me. She calls herself a motivated working woman who constantly strives for personal growth. And she was facing a challenging situation and she was feeling stuck when she came to therapy. And she was, really didn't know what to do about it. And in her words, therapy has proved to be a turning point in her life. Welcome, Samya.
ना टाइम क्यों लग रहा है? हाँ मम्मा.
My last but not the least panelist is Sanya Khurana. Sanya is a multifaceted personality. She's a writer. She's a seasonal software developer. She's a TEDx speaker. She's a professional singer and an author. And I think she's written 2 books, right? And I've heard her songs and she sings really, really well. And not only that, in 2015, she co-founded a nonprofit network for women, which is called Lean In. She brought that to India. So I really welcome, they have been really gracious enough to come and talk about it, come on the video and talk about it. So can't thank them enough. All right. So let me start by asking Sanya, how did you realize? My first question is, how did you realize what were the signs and symptoms, which really told you or, gave you this indication that you were experiencing some mental health issues and that you should take help? So what were those specific signs and symptoms that you were experiencing? Please share it with our audience.
Sorry, did you say Sanya or Samya? Because it sounds similar.
Sorry, Sanya. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Sanya. Sanya Khurana.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess the symptoms were there already for a while, and I could recognize that I'm not going through a good time, but I didn't know enough to be sure. And since there's a stereotype around depression and anxiety and how those look like, I didn't even think around those words, and I didn't know that I could go for therapy even without being diagnosed with a mental health issue. So the thing is that if you meet me, I'm like the most cheerful person. I'm always smiling. So I am like, I'm so smiling. I laugh so much that I even confuse myself. Like, I couldn't recognize it for myself about what is happening and what's the contradiction until I read Shaheen Bhatt's book, I've Never Been Unhappier, which actually I read her book and I watched her book launch, in which she told about her internal journey, which I realized I had been having in that journey. Shaheen Bhatt was having an internal journey of going through depression. And I came across her book, and she shared her journey. She shared her thoughts, the thoughts she was having since she was 12 years old. And I could resonate with some parts of what having similar thoughts when I was 16. Now, today I'm 29, but I was 16 and I had very similar thoughts. So, and I think in that book, she had written that anyone can go to therapy. So that gave me a gateway to not judge myself for going to therapy, and for understanding what I'm going through. I mean, I was really afraid of giving myself a term,
Yeah.
Self-diagnosing myself. So I said, okay, let's do this because I could resonate with the symptoms and the thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, actually. So that's what happens, she got to know that she is going through some mental health issues, or she got the confirmation, I will say, when she read Shaheen Bhatt's book. Okay. So would you like to, so you're saying that there were some thoughts like Shaheen Bhatt was going through that internal journey at 12 years of age, and you were experiencing something similar at 16 years of age. So what were those thoughts which people can watch out for?
One, the symptoms that I tell you were that I had since the teenage years, I had very less energy in me. I had very, like, physical symptoms, I'll start with, that I had very, very less energy,
Hmm.
much lesser than all my peers. And also I was, I uh, I don't know, it felt like there is a sinking feeling in me. The emotional or the thoughts were mainly of not not like, kind of, I had given up on life at the age of 16. Like, I didn't I kind of wished I was not here. I kind of wished something happened to me. I didn't actively do something, but I had this thought in my mind every night and every morning that I don't want to see another day. And also there was these thoughts that I'm worthless, that I don't deserve to be loved, to have any friends. I don't deserve a career, a fulfilling career, or I am not capable of living on earth. Kind of, there were those thoughts.
Right.
There were those thoughts, and physical
Yeah.
symptoms were mostly around tiredness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and physical symptoms changed as I grew up. Like, they then turned into, like, then my sleep cycles started get affecting, as you know, it
Right. Yeah.
was there, and also my eating habits. So yeah.
Right. Right. No, thank you so much for sharing. Uh, would any one of you like to share what were your signs and symptoms? Chubhi, Sanya, sorry, Samya and Aditi. Aditi, would you like to share?
Yes, of course. For me also, like you said, I waited more than waited. I feel like I only realized it till I had a bunch of physical symptoms. There was just one day when I was just coming back from meeting a friend and I was so hysterical and crying and I had no idea why. I called my mother and mama was just like, kuch nahi, dekh lo, maybe you're just very, very tired. You've had a very long week.
Mm.
That sort of thing. And but that day I just knew it wasn't that, because I used to be always, my threshold for being busy has always been great.
Mm.
So I used to be a very active, on my toes, bubbly, chatty person. But that day, I just didn't feel like being myself at all. Like, I just felt like not being around people. Just I feel like those feelings. I
Right.
honestly, like, to put it generically, anything that makes you feel different from yourself, anything that makes you feel like you're not like yourself, possibly is a good starting
Mm.
point. At least doubt it.
Mm.
Like, okay, what is this? Is this just like a phase? Am I upset, or
Yeah.
am I actually? Is
Yeah.
this so? It's like when you have fever, you don't realize you have fever until it's there, right?
Mm.
So it's a little like that. So if anything feels displaced, like, you don't, food habits become like a major one.
Yeah.
You're overeating or you're under eating or not eating at all. You lose interest in things you like.
Mm.
That's why they always tell you ki whenever upset, try and do something you enjoy. But
Mm.
when you realize that you're doing that thing, you don't enjoy it anymore, that's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
a good one to
Correct.
keep up.
Correct.
I honestly don't remember much until I was weeping in the middle of a street at all.
Mm. Mm.
Couldn't have
Mm.
seen it coming because I didn't know what to look for.
Yeah, of course not. Right. And like it may not have been the first time, like that day you realize, but it must have been going on for a while.
I feel like we tend to ignore it quite a bit
Mm.
in an attempt of it's a phase, it'll go, which is fine.
Which is
But
fine.
we need to still have that element of how it will go. I think a good example is COVID, right? Now, every time you have fever now, everybody thinks about, shall I take a COVID test?
Mm.
Even though it probably isn't it. Like, you need to have it at the back of your head saying, what am I checking for? It
Mm.
cannot, is it a phase? Am I upset? Do I need to stop for like 5 minutes and think?
Yeah,
Is
correct.
it happening too often?
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah, absolutely. So I think, I would like to pick it up from what Aditi is saying and say that it's not that, okay, it just happens once and we really need to, rush to take help. Of course not. Okay. Because emotions are natural. We would feel some negative emotion in stressful situations. So that's perfectly fine. And it helps us. Emotions are a sign of life, so that's perfectly fine. But when, you are experiencing those symptoms or signs for a prolonged period of time, right? And like how Aditi said that you're not feeling yourself, you're feeling something different than yourself. I remember somewhere I came across Deepika Padukone's she keeps sharing about her mental health journey, and she was saying that her parents had come over and they were leaving, and she was crying, right? And her mother understood that that crying was a different kind of cry. वो जो रो रही थी वो अलग तरह का रोना था, right? So I think that is something. Yeah.
Some of the signs which I think, Sanya and Aditi have shared till now are, that something is not right. There are physical symptoms as well, with less energy. Then there is sinking feeling. You feel like giving up on life. You feel worthless. Nothing makes sense sometimes. Food habits, suddenly crying. Are there any other, which Shubhi and Maya would like to add on for the interest of the viewers?
So we, like, right now we're talking about awareness, but there are people, because like particularly in my case, I did not realize it until I collapsed completely, because I knew, like, now when I am I was diagnosed in 2015, and now when I'm in 2023, I'm still realizing a lot of things about my childhood, or while I was growing up, what were my traumas. So I realized it when I completely collapsed, because before that, I think people with depression or anxiety are always trying to cover that up, to protect ourselves. So we're the most chatty. At an average, we are all very chatty, and we because we don't find that comfort, so we try to provide that comfort to others, because that's what we're looking for. So I think there are times, and there must be people who've just accepted it as a normal. So even if for you it doesn't seem like anything is wrong, it's never a bad idea to just stop and take a stock of things. And I've seen it in my personal experience. I have people around me now, being in therapy for past 4-5 years. I am coming to, when I see people, I seem to understand the vibe, and I try to, if asked for help, I try to make people understand that, because it's a culture. It's all happening to us because of the culture that we've become a part of. Like, everything is so fast, everything is so quick. There's so much pressure. So it's always good to sit back and take a stock. But yeah, what Aditi said, that when I collapsed, my first, like, everybody asks me that what is that feeling? What are you feeling? Like why, what are you feeling different? And that was my answer, that I'm not feeling myself. I'm not smiling. I'm not shopping. I am not going out. I don't like going to work. Exactly like Sanya said, I would wake up in the morning and I would be like, oh my God, कहीं earthquake क्यों नहीं आ गया, and आज बहुत तेज बारिश क्यों नहीं हो जाती, and then I'll overthink that also and think what a evil person you are. लोग बारिश में stuck हो जाते हैं. So you're just stuck in the loop of your thoughts. And also it's always a very good idea. I mean, we are all workaholics probably. I mean, we've not chosen to be workaholics, but it's the culture that is such. But everybody just should try and take a stock of their feelings once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to add one
yeah.
more point.
Mhm.
Yeah, so basically.
In fact, I would like to ask
along-
you, Samia, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but so when you came for therapy, so you were not really what we can call clinically depressed or some kind of, like very serious problems, I will say, so you were not thinking that, okay, world should come to an end or things like that, right? So you share with the audience that, okay, what brought you to therapy? How did you realize that there was something related to mental health that you are struggling with?
Yes, basically 3 things which hampered me a lot. First was obviously lack of energy. I'm a very active girl, but those times I was just sleeping without any reason. I was always tired. And then erratic mood swings. Like I was not able to explain the other person as well, like why I'm crying or why am I doing this way, why even the slightest of thing is paining me. So it was very erratic to me. And third, which was very, very topmost priority for me, was I've always been a very decisive kind of a girl. Like I am easy to come to a conclusion. But that time it was so much brain fog, like I was unable to decide even a single thing कि आज रात में क्या खाना है. मैं उसमें भी confused हो जाती थी. And it was like I'm a very organized, like you already know this. I plan my day. But I was unable to do that. I was unable to stick to my routine. I was not unable to do very basic things which I was used to do very efficiently. So this was the most like extreme point for me. Like, no, I need some help. I need to talk and I need to go to therapy. So yes.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. So not only extreme thoughts, but these kind of, dysfunctionalities can come into your life, not able to decide, mood swings, irritability, loss of energy is one very common, loss of sleep, या तो आप बहुत ज्यादा सो रहे हैं या बहुत कम सो रहे हैं, आप सो के उठ रहे हैं तो आप बिल्कुल फ्रेश फील नहीं कर रहे हैं, you're having to drag yourself out of bed, binge eating, there are so many that that can show up.
I feel like a very one that I have, my friend actually felt it, and she always tells me ki, the way she realizes ki something is wrong, she just says I'm feeling numb, like I don't feel anything at all. Like good to me, I don't feel anything at all. You say something bad to me, I do not feel anything at all. I just don't feel anything at all. And that can be a tricky one because kabhi lagta hai, I'm just tired. But
yeah,
human beings are not built to not feel anything at all.
Yeah. Actually, Actually, I was just like today only reading a book, and it's like we know also, but then it just came up that it's like a coping mechanism that which our bodies adopt because those emotions are very painful. It's very painful. It's very difficult emotions to deal with. तो वो shut down हो जाता है. System actually collapse करके shut down हो जाता है because उस समय that is actually trying to protect us. Right? Problem कब होती है? जब वो continued रहता है वैसे for a prolonged period of time and we are not able to pull ourselves out of that. Okay, so what I would like to ask you next is that once you realized that कुछ तो हो रहा है जिसके लिए मुझे कुछ चाहिए, कुछ help चाहिए, either to see a psychiatrist or see a therapist, whatever, that some professional help. then did you have some kind of thoughts, apprehensions in mind? Ki, is it really happening? कुछ भी thoughts, apprehensions थे आपके दिमाग में professional help लेने से पहले, जब आपको ये पता चल गया था कि there is something that I need to talk to about. So from there, were there some thoughts and apprehensions?
I think in my case, I would, at the time I discovered that, I am suffering, I'm going through depression. I was in a pretty privileged situation where I was earning my own money. I was living out of home. So I personally didn't have any apprehensions because my only focus was, I want to get better. I was actually looking at it from a very different lens, and it was very wrong of me. Because my thing was that I want to be happy. I want to be that cheerful person without realizing that the cheerful person was a trauma response to something. So I went all out, but yeah, like after that happened, because then it was a continued effort. And when my parents also saw, my family, my friends were seeing the I stopped eating, I was completely zero figure. So again, even though I opened up to my parents were acceptive of it, but somewhere everybody is reluctant that how can it happen to our child, how could it happen to our friend, they're so happy, they're so cheerful. So I went through the whole procedure of getting, my whole body tested, all the body, tests I went through. There was nothing wrong with me. And but we were just changing doctors. We were shifting hospitals, that maybe this is wrong, maybe that is wrong. My sister started making, when I could not pull myself out of bed, in that situation, she started making efforts of taking me to the garden at 5 o'clock in the morning for a run. And I was like, dude, how do I make them understand that I don't have that energy? It's not like I don't want to do that. But I don't have any energy. So I think my situation, I was pretty privileged that I could do what I wanted. But after that, since then, I've had friends my age. I have friends who have resonated with me, telling me that you talk too much about depression. That's why the feeling stuck with you. Or तू इतनी इसके बारे में ज़्यादा बात मत किया कर, and all of that. But I have done, I'm honestly, as much as I want to do, I think probably I'm doing the minimal, but the number of people that I've been able to help by talking about it I think that gives me a big relief.
Yeah, definitely. How was it, Samya, for you?
Yes, so it was a little shocking for me because I've always been promoting mental health, emotional health to other people. But when it came to me, I was even about to cancel the appointment 1 hour before. I was actually about to do that because I was thinking, there were many thoughts inside my head, and they were am I going crazy? Like, should I go there? How will people judge me? How will it turn out to be? So I had this thought, and I was about to text you ki aaj nahi ho payega, let's schedule it some other day, but luckily I got your text ki hi Samya, I'll be calling in 5 minutes. So that text message kind of acted as a catalyst to me to know ki aaj to karna hai, aaj to attend karte hain, let's face this fear. So I did have that fear, and I would say, but facing that, overcoming that fear proved to be really great to me, because that first session, it was so, I was so happy. Like, I cried out of happiness that night, and I slept so well. So yes, it changed me.
So good to hear that.
Just a follow-up question, Samya. Do you want to talk about what were those thoughts which were holding you back? If there were any.
Yeah, definitely. So it's not that my family is not supportive, my friends are not supportive, they're all supportive. But I had this if I come up with this thing, then I'm not that perfect girl. Like, there is some weakness inside me. I was itna bahar aana, open up karna, is it safe? Because I have been a shielded, bounded kind of a girl. I'm an introvert. I don't share much. And going to an unknown person and talking those life things. So it was a bit scary for me
Yeah.
at that level as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
understand. She was that proverbial good girl.
And I think one more thing that I want to add is, and for the awareness purpose, because when I started, like I said, mujhe sahi hona hai. So I was reluctant towards therapy because I approached it as, a bimari, mujhe dawai do. I didn't try to understand depression. Like, I mean, I think no matter, I mean, I did everything I was doing. I knew something was deeply wrong with me, but I did not know that, the emotions that you packed away 20 years back have a power to, come back in your life. And, whatever then happens with you, I mean, whatever you go through. So, yeah, I think your approach towards depression and anxiety uh, has also to be, that it is actually a very life-changing thing, because for me, I mean, I believe for everybody, it only makes you a better person.
Yeah, absolutely. बहुत apprehensions रहती हैं. In fact, I have seen like how Samia said, and I really kind of, if somebody is coming into therapy, they have already started working on themselves. The fact that they have come into therapy. So I'm not saying that everybody should come into therapy, but do something about it. So, because वो होता है कि am I going crazy? Am I being weak? ऐसा क्या हो गया कि मैं कुछ खुद कर नहीं पा रही हूँ? I should be able to take care of myself. I should be able to pull myself out of it. तो वो चीजें दिमाग में बहुत आती हैं. So it's really and that's because of the conditioning, right? Like how Shubhi is saying कि अच्छा हमें अगर कुछ भी फिजिकल कुछ तकलीफ होती है, फीवर होता है, तो ठीक है हम 2 दिन वेट करते हैं, फिर अगर नहीं भी उतरता है तो हम थर्ड डे हम डॉक्टर को कंसल्ट करने में वी विल नॉट थिंक ट्वाइस, राइट? बट it has got to do with the stigma attached, right?
And
Yeah.
also, I think our education system is heavily flawed in that ways, where we're not at all taught about emotions, like, that
Yeah.
you are, because
that's a topic for another day, Shubhi.
we're so bracketed that, you're tired or hectic.
And we are taught to, whenever we are feeling also, we are taught to just suck it up, don't cry, be strong.
Be strong.
Yeah. Okay. So, Sanya, I would like to ask you, like we're talking about stigma. So, when you realized that, okay, there is something, there is either depression or some mental health concerns that I'm struggling with, how easy or difficult was it to talk about it with either your family or friends? And did you speak, did you not speak? And what was their response if you spoke?
It was very difficult to talk to family, because parents, what they do first is they take it on themselves and they get defensive, and then they say हमने ऐसा क्या किया, and then it's difficult to, in my case, I was privileged enough, I was earning and everything, so when I started therapy, I asked my therapist to have a conversation with with me and my parents. So I was somewhere else, and then my parents were at home, and we were on a video call together and talking. And then she explained what depression is and what she has been going through, and then there were again questions about and mostly I think 2 years. Even today, my parents uh, struggle to trying to understand what they did wrong. But it's a difficult journey, I guess, with family. In my case, they have come across a long way, but it was very hard. It was like I was fighting two fights. With friends, again, some people who knew about it were a little more supportive and were open to, understanding what I was going through, were still more supportive. But most people were thinking of this as some way of me to gain some sympathy and call myself brave
Correct. Hmm.
in I think in our country. Okay, I don't want to generalize, but around me,
Hmm.
the drama word or the sympathy seeker, the attention seeker
Attention
words
seeker.
are very negative. So even though we love Bollywood movies, but if someone is in pain, we will just call them a drama, and she just is doing it for
Yeah,
some.
exactly. Don't we hear it all the time? इतना क्या हो गया? क्यों रो रही हो? क्या हो गया?
Exactly.
मतलब कुछ सब कुछ तो ठीक है. क्या
Exactly.
प्रॉब्लम है तुम्हें?
Ex-
Right? This is
exactly.
what we hear.
And
Some,
just last line I'll add.
yeah, sure.
My so many achievements didn't actually help me a lot. So it was like, you have so much, then why
Yeah.
are you in depression now? So it was actually a struggle for me in the initial days to explain, and until the day I stopped explaining. Yeah.
Samya, have you been able to share with your family?
Yes, so I have a very close best friend. So for the first time, I shared with her, and then family. So although my family is very supportive, very loving, very caring, but yes, I was a bit scared to share it with them. So I'm very close to my sister, younger sister. I started with her to get that comfort level. And then gradually I told my brother, then my mother. So everyone was very supportive. They were more of like, because I was living in another city. Like I was all alone. So they were more of like they had this concern कि ठीक हो ना बेटा, बात कर लिया करो, जो भी करना है बोल दिया करो कॉल पर, वीडियो कॉल पर. Like my mom used to start texting me on a regular basis. Randomly, is everything okay? So yes, it was a bit fearful, but it was like मेरे अंदर था वो. I was just scared of sharing, but on the other side, it really turned out well.
You got support from your family, which you felt
Yes,
supported with
thankfully,
those
yes.
small messages from
I
the family, which
was
was
lucky
important.
enough.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, for
you
sure.
were actually lucky. You were actually lucky. That actually reminds me, way long back, many years back, there was this client, and at that time she was, I think, about 18 years old girl. And she was going through depression, and she was sharing it with her parents. Matlab, she was really explaining it very hard, sharing with her parents what she was going through, to the extent कि जब verbally बोलने से उनको नहीं समझ में आया, she wrote a 4-page letter to them explaining what she was going through. And when they had finally come for therapy, so they had got the letter along with them that this is what she has written, and it was a very, what should I say, detailed, and a really kind of, she had really was been able to explain very well what she was going through, but still the parents were not able to understand. So so not everyone is lucky. I think I know about Aditi, like her parents, her mom only asked her to seek help. So but yeah, I mean, that's really good.
I think it's the stigma that scares the parents also, that
Of course, yeah.
like they don't they also want to like keep it, they understand, but they want to like keep it hush hush, that because they don't know how will if their relatives get to know. I'm sure like my parents, they don't say that to me, but I'm sure somewhere down the line, they are too scared. They are also scared about it.
Also feel like for the parents who are more informed, for my mother, she was the one who pushed me to do it, because she said if she had the foresight to say, Acha, if I am not able to help you figure this out, to ask a third person's opinion. Clearly, maybe I'm too close to this. But then there is also, for maybe from the rest of my family, it was just like, Arey, hum nahi samajh pa rahe, we can't help you. How can someone who you've never met, who doesn't know you,
Right.
help you understand an emotional state? So the question is fair. It sounds fair, but just until you do it, therapy, you know, like my answer to whoever has apprehensions to therapy is always like, do one session and tell me you didn't like it or it didn't help you at all. Just do one session. I'm not asking, like, don't commit for the year, don't commit for the month, just do one session. And if you don't come out of it feeling lighter, at least to begin with, then we'll talk. Because nobody knows how it works. The
Yeah,
question
yeah.
is therapy,
In
if you're
fact, that brings me
you're-
to my next question. Would you like to explain, Aditi, how therapy works? Because really people don't have any idea, and there is a lot of thoughts, मतलब डर लगता है लोगों को कि क्या है therapy, because they don't know what it is. It's like a known fear of unfamiliar. So for the benefit of audience, Aditi, you start and share what is therapy, how it helps, what do you do in therapy?
For me, therapy has always been asking questions with someone else. Like when you talk to a therapist, they obviously know, they're looking at it from a very objective angle. When you're talking to a family there or for friends, they're already obviously emotionally involved with you. So there is just that answering the why and what of everything that you're feeling. So it of course you're going to be discussing your feelings for an hour, is what therapy is, what everyone thinks it is. But it's not just venting. I used to think, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go to therapy, I'll vent, I'll come out. But it's not just venting, saying this is what I'm feeling, or ऐसा ऐसा हो रहा है मेरे साथ, मैं क्या करूं, and there is no solution, no one day solution. It is understanding why what is happening, what you're feeling. Sometimes you don't even know what you're feeling. Like we all said, we didn't know why we were feeling it, we don't know what we were feeling, where it could be coming from. Before you even like realize how you can fix it, it's important. If you don't know what part of your body is aching, what medicine will you take? Like that's always how I have thought of it. It is a lot of objectively questioning why. The difference between why therapy works, according to me, and why self-reflection doesn't in this situation is because you can't run away. You have to answer that why. You can't get up in that session and run. You have to answer that why. You have to answer those questions. And it's okay to say, I don't know. The good part about therapy is you cannot know and figure it out with the person in front of you who understands how the human brain works, how the human body works, how emotions work. In my opinion, that's what therapy, at least initial days of therapy, is, until you get deeper into everything else.
Yeah. Would anybody else like to share what therapy is, how it works, your experience?
I think in my experience, I always thought that I'm a very strong person and I can fix situations. So it was very difficult for me so I started my medication in 2015, but I eventually landed up consistently taking therapy when I started with Madhu in 2019. Before that, I was reluctant. Like Samya said, I would cancel appointments, a few minutes or few hours early. I would look for an escape because, I just didn't know like what to say. Like, how is the other person? They don't know my background. They don't know anything about my family. But it's as simple as just talking, like the basic funda that in life or you're taught that you have to communicate. And it's a very I think after a while it becomes a very sometimes also a very one-sided conversation, because, and not in a bad way, because you learn to decode your emotions. And that's actually what happens with Madhu and me now, that while I'm just narrating that this happened and I think this and what I've started. So basically, in therapy, you're just exploring your emotions. You're learning about your emotion, and it's a very confidential process. You don't need to be afraid of, somebody, anything. If you're afraid of, going out or anything. But it really there are basic fundas as humans that I think we should adapt as human beings, and which we forget probably in the process of growing up. And therapy just takes us back to that. Like, it's a very simple, objective approach. It's not deprived of emotions. Your emotions, they're validated. You are provided with comfort. It instills a lot of confidence in you once somebody identifies, a professional tells you that what you're going through is, it's nothing wrong, or it's nothing unusual. It's a very systematic approach towards our emotions, and it's really a blessing. I think anybody and everybody should explore it. You might feel a little intimidated because you're exposing yourselves, you're exposing your emotions, but really communicating is all therapy about. It's not about intimidation. It's not about talking anything that's very close to you or very intimate about. It's just figuring out your emotions, and it's a great process.
I would like to add some more. मुझे किसी ने बोला था कि थेरेपी सिर्फ बातें होती है, बातें से क्या होगा, ठीक है. So I even have this in my mind as well कि बात करने से क्या होगा, ठीक है. तो मैं पहले वीडियोस देखती थी. I used to watch videos on YouTube, motivating videos, TED speakers telling big things, ठीक है. So it affected me for a short period of time. But therapy, I would say, it brings a new perspective in yourself. Like, because that person is not just listening, like that person is calculating behind the head the psychoanalysis of all these things. So I even told Miss Madhu, like she has done some magical things, because she didn't provide me solutions to my problems, but she empowered me to find my own. So that is something which therapy does to you.
I would like to add to that. Yeah, so it's the same as Samya said, that actually very similar, that I was in a state when I came to when I started therapy. I thought that I will tell them, I will expose my emotions, I will tell them everything, and I had this mindset that I am wrong, because the entire world was is telling me that you are wrong, you need to do this, you need to change yourself. So I was like, okay, I'll go to the therapist, I'll tell them everything, and that person will fix me. So and for a while I used to say that I have a lot of bugs, and the therapist is fixing those bugs until I realized I'm not a software. I mean, yeah. So and as Samya said, it was more about not fixing me or anything. It was more about like, even with Madhu, she asked the right questions. Like, she asked the right questions and let me find the answers. And in fact, it was more about accepting than fixing. So yeah, that was my those are my thoughts about therapy. That magically it will say something and then I'll be fixed. Yeah, so that was my thought.
Yeah. There is no magic pill in therapy, though magic happens as Samya is saying. So there is no advice that is given. Of course, a therapist is a trained professional to listen and understand the problems with objectivity. He or she, provides a non-judgmental space. So like, we really do not judge at all. Okay. It comes so naturally that so I have had clients. I'm just talking about me right now. I'm sure Anupama has her own experiences. So usually having an extramarital affair is seen as a very negative thing in our society, right?
Yeah.
But what do you do when that person, who is engaged in extramarital comes to you for therapy? You can't judge and help that person, right? So much so to that extent. So this is just one example. So there's a lot of objectivity, and we are just kind of empowering, helping the other person understand. But yeah, I mean, by way of our training, as Aditi said, that probably we are at a better place to understand how it happens, whatever happens, right? So maybe we'll be able to give you some perspective, but not really provide solutions. Okay, that you really, there's nothing to be fixed. We all are, perfectly fine people. And, we just need to little bit work on ourselves. Yeah, the other thing is that it's a process. So please do not expect any quick fix. It's a process. And there is, in case of extreme symptoms, of course, you can go to a psychiatrist and take medication. That's a different thing. But, you do need to work on yourself. You do need to work on your deep-rooted beliefs, which are unhealthy, making you dysfunctional. So you do need to work on them. So it's a work. So you need to be willing to work on yourself. That's a prerequisite. I will say that's the only prerequisite that is there. And it's a process. So have patience. Have patience. So in that sense, it takes some time and patience and work on yourself. Shubhi, you're saying something?
Yeah, Madhu, I mean, just to share with everybody, this is the instance from this morning itself. And since we're talking that it's a process and you learn, and it just teaches you how to, approach a problem, or don't look at a problem as a, obstacle. There's always, I mean, because we are very rigid in a way to see towards that, I have to get through a problem. You don't always have to get through everything. And I'm just sharing this incident because this happened this very morning, and I applied what I've so far learned in therapy. I woke up, so my indication of something's not going right is usually my dreams. And I woke up with very heavy anxiety, and I woke up crying. And I was crying, and I came out, and I sat with myself first for 5 minutes, and because I have this tendency, I'll forget my dream. And I analyzed that dream, and I cried for 5-10 minutes. I hugged my husband and I cried. And then, because I could apply that, why these feelings were happening, I was able to communicate with my husband. Because right now I'm not working. So my worry is, and I've always been an independent person, working with my money. So that's been one of the issues that has been on my mind. And when I woke up with that anxiety and the things that were happening in my dream, and or just feeling with getting up with palpitation, it just made me realize, okay, this is a conversation that I really need to prioritize. And we did that. And I mean, usually if I had had a panic attack in the morning, I would not be sitting here. I would be all pale, curling in my bed. But it was a very big, this could have, if I didn't have that knowledge, if I wasn't empowered this much, I would have probably, just been worried for it for a couple of weeks, probably, before doing anything right. But I'm now so empowered that I could just fix that situation in probably an hour and get myself to relief.
You were able to apply the learnings from your
Yes.
therapy into your daily routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nice to hear this, Shubhi.
All thanks to you, Madhu.
My pleasure. Okay. All right.
So we are reaching 5 o'clock. So if
Yeah.
you have to keep 30 minutes for question and answer, maybe a last question.
Yeah, in the meanwhile, in case there are any questions or thoughts, you all can, of course, put it in the chat box, and then we will, put the floor open for questions
For any
also.
queries that you
Any
guys
queries,
have,
any thoughts, any
you
questions?
can put it in the chat box, or once we finish, you can raise a hand and ask questions. We try to maintain some ground rules of allowing, respecting the speaker, and don't interrupt when somebody is speaking. Yeah. And in the end, in case we are not able to answer all the questions, I will also share mine and Madhu's email address. You can email to us and write on the subject mental health forum edition 3, and you could ask us as well. Do you want to ask a last question to the panelist, Madhu? Or
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Ishaka, can you just hold on your question till we just finish the discussion with the panelist? And
yeah, we'll just come to you. All right. So one question that I would like to ask my panelists is that, did at any point of time you think of quitting therapy? Okay, you were in the process, and did at any point of time you think of quitting therapy, and why, and then what happened? Anyone?
Yeah, I did. I actually did. It's a funny story which I tell in every session. I actually did after my first session with Madhu. I told my psychiatrist that I find Madhu very intimidating, but that was only because we
Okay.
were coming, because she brought me face to face with my emotions, because I had never I had never known anything apart from that I have to be a smart, working, independent individual who's happy, who's nice to people. I was a very bracketed personality. And for me to accept at in my late 20s that okay, it's normal to be this way, where others, everybody, like thousands of people, whatever people are around me, are telling me otherwise. Like they want my happy, chirpier personality outside, but what we were talking was something very I was not ready to accept it. And there, I think probably people who like me, we've consciously also taken breaks, and there have been some times where I have, and it's because of my mistakes, because I tend to a couple of times I let things pile up, and then there is so much in your head that you're like, okay, what am I going to talk, I don't want to talk. And that is when, because Madhu is also a very involved therapist, that she'll make sure she'll message and check on you, and I will just get onto a session thinking, okay, what will I talk about? I don't, because I'm feeling numb, I don't know what to talk about. But we just get to talking, and it goes in flow. So I think one suggestion is that don't let this let things, like she said, like Madhu always said, that nib it in the bud, and that's the best way. And the only times when I think of quitting therapy is because of my own mistake, where I let things get out of control and I didn't approach for help at the right time.
So are you saying that it gets so overwhelming then that it becomes difficult to even
Yeah. And I mean, it's my emotions. It's a miss
Yeah.
on my side that I let everything just go on. I get in that monotony of life that office jana hai, office aake ye karna hai, fir so jana hai, fir subah utna hai, office jana hai. Again, not taking stock of my emotions. I go with the flow. I don't take stock of my emotions. And that's when I'm like, okay, I don't know what to talk about, but then I usually have a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah. Samia has already shared her experience. She was about to cancel her first session itself, but after that she was regular, and I have been her only. This was her first and last experience so far. Yeah, right. So anybody else, Aditi or Sanya, if you would like to share?
I did a couple of sessions with Madhubam, and then suddenly we just stopped, because at that point we should do sessions in person, and then anyways. But I feel like I stopped more from the feeling of I go day after day, like week after week or every 2 weeks, whatever, talk about things. And I think I just got tired. I feel like if you want to stop therapy, it is worth having a conversation with your therapist itself as to why you want to stop it
Yeah.
and explain that. I didn't do that. I just stopped. Like COVID happened, I moved back home. I didn't know online therapy was an option. And either way, I was just like, I am tired. I don't want to do it. I don't want to explore how I can get back to therapy. I don't want to talk about it. It's fine. At that point, I remember even our conversations used to be, you need to let yourself brain rest a little bit. You need to like take a break and just rest it out a little bit.
Stop.
Because I just didn't want to be talking
Sorry,
about it. And
Yeah.
I feel like I got that break. Lucky for me, Madhu ma'am reached out to me again saying, "Are you doing better? Do you sure want to like just touch base and talk?" Just because you did a few sessions, you need to still, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, sort of a conversation we had on our first call. And I feel like it did me some good, but I am a individual case where I got lucky, where I got the rest and then I got back into it. Because I feel like earlier my sessions used to be, I'm feeling this, blah, 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 just a lot of venting versus when
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I
So
was in a
you-
better state to understand what ma'am was saying.
yeah, her sessions used to be very because you were also not living in Bombay at the time, and very irregular kind. So broadly, I have seen two things, two reasons why people quit suddenly. uh, so one, definitely, I mean, before I get on to those reasons, what I would like to say, it's really a good idea to, even if you want to stop, speak to your therapist. She's not going to stop you from stopping therapy, of course, but it's a good idea because she can guide you. She can, if there are any concerns, she can address those concerns. Because what I have seen is that you take two steps forward, and if you suddenly stop, then you actually retract, and it's not a good idea. The reasons why, one, like how Aditi is saying, that sometimes it can, because you are working on emotions, so it can get tiring. It can get tiring, but yeah, there is, of course, what do you say, on the other side of it is a good life, I will say, right? But the process is not very easy, not scary, but yeah, it involves work, so it can sometimes get a bit tiring. The second reason why sometimes people, what I've seen is, suddenly they stop therapy is because they start feeling better, right? So for some time they'll start feeling better and they will think that the work has happened, okay, which is not the case. Again, I will say, like, look for a good therapist who you can trust. But once you are able to put your trust in your therapist, then trust that therapist, because she is going to the best for you. She's going to say whatever is the best for you. So so I have seen this invariably, that okay, you start feeling better and then you suddenly stop, and then after a few months, then they come back with either a similar kind of or much worse symptoms. So the good work that has been done kind of just goes waste, so that's one thing I wanted to just share with our audience.
But the one thing more is, I think since it's all about awareness, so I want to tell you people that, there'll be a lot of external pressure also, despite being, strongly talking about mental health for so many years, but people have still made me feel that कब तक चलेगा तेरा ये, मतलब कब तक करती रहेगी तू therapy, but the point is that I might, I might stop therapy today, but after 2 months, there might be a new situation, which I don't know how to comprehend, or my system is not adapted to it. So it's not like tum hamesha yahi like, it's just termed as ki तू कब ठीक होगी, कब तक इस सब में. It's not about ठीक होना. It's about having a decent lifestyle. It's about self-awareness. It just makes you, it's about being a better person. So
Yeah.
even I mean, anybody, if they're seeking help, I think we should be very considerate in the way that we talk to them, and don't pressurize. Don't this thing doesn't have a deadline. It doesn't have a deadline, and anybody and everybody at some point requires some kind of help. But I think that's a long way to go and hope for right now. But yeah, whatever difference all of us at this forum right now can get is हम अपने words बहुत मतलब थोड़ा wisely choose कर सकते हैं, and लोगों पे pressure ना डालें for the way that they're feeling.
Absolutely. And it's definitely important to acknowledge what they are feeling and rather than questioning their feelings कि ऐसा क्यों feel कर रहे हो, तुम्हें गुस्सा क्यों आ रहा है, तुम्हें रोना क्यों आ रहा है, तुम्हें दुख क्यों हो रहा है. That's the reality.
That's the reality. Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to really thank my panelists for being wonderful panelists, and of course they are continuing to be there. And now all of us, my panelists, myself and Anupama, would try and address the questions to the best of our capability. So shall we take Vishakha first? So Anu, can you take the lead here? Vishakha, can you ask your questions? And if possible, can you come on the video? But before that, before we open the space for questions, sorry, can you just mute for a second? So what I want to say is that this is a very safe space, okay, that we have created for you all, and whatever, please maintain confidentiality. What I mean by that is that, whatever you guys are sharing, all of us take this pledge that it's not going to go beyond this session. Okay, we are showing a lot of respect for each other. We are showing a lot of empathy for each other by doing that. Okay, so it's an absolutely safe space. Please feel free to ask your questions. Yes, Vishakha.
I would like to share some experience about myself also. I also had depression since the age of 12 when I was in 7th standard. So it was diagnosed by my parents and they took me to a psychiatrist. From that day till today, I'm 37 years old. I'm still under depression and I'm still taking medications. So there has been a lot that I have gone through, or probably you can say there have been a lot of changes in me. But ultimately, what has happened is I have, how much ever I've tried to come out of it, evolved out of it, I've again come back and मतलब बोलते हैं ना मुंह के बल गिरी हूँ. So it's like it started when I was in school. It was a very small thing, like how the other people scared or shared. I didn't want to get up out of the bed. That was the time when my parents realized that a person who always was so active, who was always so interested in going to the school, why she suddenly becomes so passive and submissive, and why she becoming so silent. And that's how they showed to a normal physician, who then asked them to show to a psychiatrist. And there is where my journey started.
Right. So what you're saying, Vishakha, is that that it's been so many years, but you are still kind of struggling with it still. So much so that.
Yeah, I mean, there have been so many instances which have happened in my life. I have fought them. I have come out of it, and I have come out of it in a nicer way. But what has happened recently in the past few years is something which is I'm not able to come out of, and it has affected me so badly that now I'm even forgetting things. I'm not able to remember even the smallest of things.
I would like to ask you, Vishakha, that have you, so I understand that you have taken medicine and probably you are on medication right now also, but have you done some work in terms of therapy on yourself? Have you done that?
Yes. On and off, I do keep a track, and I do keep to talk to the psychologist, and I do also share my feelings with them. It's not that I'm completely on medications. I do consult psychologists as well. But somehow I have been not able to understand how do I cope up with this phase of my life. Like I have, why I'm sharing about my past is because I've seen that I've evolved out of it.
I see the changes in me. When I was in school, I was always been an excellent student in the first
Right,
5
right.
rankers.
So
But I was always wanting to excel. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, no, I understood what you're saying. So what I would say here is that speak to your psychologist who you are consulting, okay,
Sure.
and just ask her, like consult with her, go to her, because she would know your situation, she would know your unhealthy belief patterns that you may have worked on. So most of the time what happens is that there are some 2, 3, 4 patterns that everybody, all of us have, and it kind of keeps showing in different areas of your life at different points in time. So once we are aware that, okay, this is the pattern that is coming up, okay, that is happening right now, that's kind of getting activated, the unhealthy pattern is getting activated, then, you can work on that because you have learned how to work on that during your therapy sessions. But from what I can hear is that probably you're not able to, you are at a loss completely right now, ki kya ho raha hai, kya karu, right? So I think it would be a good idea to speak to the psychologist who you were speaking to, and just see whether that helps and be consistent there. So just have a proper discussion with her कि क्या हो रहा है, क्यों हो रहा है, और कितना time लगेगा, क्या करना होगा मुझे, like have a proper kind of a treatment plan discussed with her. Okay.
Also, one question which always comes in my mind is, can somebody get depression at the age of 12 when they
Yes.
are in 7th standard?
Yeah. It does. It does.
I would just like to, check on Vishakha. You said that, you are taking therapy on and off. So, it is good to keep it on a regular basis, discussing with your therapist that, and be a little consistent, which Madhu also said, and not be irregular because that makes a huge difference.
Okay, done. Thank you.
You can lower your hand now.
Yes.
So on the chat window, also we have some questions.
Okay, sure.
So there is RV who is asking how many sessions are usually needed, and also how would you know we become better? So it is difficult to say how many sessions. This is mine. Madhu, you can add yours.
Yeah,
But
sure.
in a therapy, in 3 या 4 session में आपको idea आ जाता है कि whether, you are comfortable with this therapist, and, you can discuss with the therapist that how long would it take, because 3-4 session में थोड़ा सा idea आ सकता है. But then it is, as our panelist spoke, it's a process of exploring, and depends on what all comes out and how deep rooted it is. The timelines can vary. But 3 या 4 session में you will know for sure कि this is the right therapist for me, and then, you can work it out with the therapist. Do you want to add on something, Madhu?
No, I think I agree with you here. I mean, unless the therapist is able to kind of assess what has happened and how, deep is the issue, so they will not be able to offhand tell you. Some people can just need 4 to 6 sessions. Some people can need 15 to 20 sessions. Some people can need more. I mean, so we can't really say. Sometimes it has also happened that, the clients came up with something and that got resolved, but while we were talking, something deeper came up.
Yeah.
So that kind of, then the client decided to work on that. So that, it got extended in that sense. Right?
So he has another question which he had asked pehle. I saw the latest question. He says, I still function, do my job, etc. A recent change is me always thinking negative things and feeling very abandoned and scared. I feel friends also cancel on plans a lot.
I know, 1 second. Sorry, one second. Arvi, I would really appreciate if you can, come up on, audio, if not video, and if you can come up on video, that would be really a good idea. If you're comfortable, kindly do that. Arvi, can you ask your question by speaking it out? That would be really nice.
Yeah. Any tips is what he wants to know. Arvi, are you there? Let me check.
I just saw. Arvi is there.
Okay.
Arvi, can you please come on audio at least?
Am I audible?
Yes, now you are.
नहीं
Oh, nahi, we can't hear you.
Question ये था कि see वैसा ना like I
Nahi, आपका I think network issue hai. We can't hear you. I think we'll take it from the chat only. So
once again now
yes,
Yes,
say
one
yeah, better.
yeah now it must be
Mhm.
better now.
Yes, we can hear you.
In the discussion you were
No, gone again. We can't.
Are we can't hear you.
Are we? I hope you are able to hear us. We can't hear you. No, no.
Nahi, we can't hear you. I think we'll take it up from the chat.
so one thing what you all said made a lot of sense कि ऐसा
Can't read out to anything. Give me a second.
Okay, hold on. Somebody else is speaking now, and RV has gone on mute. I guess her network is bad, so let me read out the question, Madhu.
Yes, please.
yeah
So she says, I still function, I do my job, etc. Recent changes, always thinking negative and feeling very abandoned and scared. I feel friends also cancel plans a lot. Any tips for that? Any tips on also what kind of therapy would work for me? Do you want to take it up, Madhu?
Sure. So from what you are saying, so there are no tips, first of all. Okay. You seem like that go to a therapist, talk to her, and then see what is happening. What is the, so these are the expressions of what is happening or manifestations of what is happening. Behaviorally kya feel ho raha hai, you know, that is what you're saying. You still function, that's absolutely fine. Aapko, you're thinking negative and feeling abandoned and scared is happening, but there is something underneath that. Why are you feeling what you're feeling? That needs to be understood, and that would be done when your therapist talks to you in detail. He or she will be able to kind of assess what has been happening. You know, just there is no tip. The tip is go to someone to seek help, if I can put it like that. Okay. So as far as your second question is concerned, what kind of therapy would work for me? Again, there is no answer for that. You know, in fact, I would rather take this question to answer that. Okay, how do you find a therapist for yourself? So I would rather ask one of my panelists to answer this question, that because that I think there was some another question wherein Jairaj Seth is asking, do people change therapists? When do they do so? You know, so it's like the journey of finding a good therapist. So if one of our panelists can talk about that, I think that would be helpful. Who would like to take that up?
Yes, I think finding a good therapist is the most important step. And I'm sorry. Yes, finding a good therapist is the most top priority. Also, I did change my therapist because, I think there are some, because now I have gone through therapy and I've seen people around me going therapy. One of the basic, I think one thing that I've picked up in recent years is how do you know he or she is a good therapist is because they'll never like, they'll not solve your problem. They will make you solve your own problem. So that is what empowering is. They don't make you rely on them. They empower you. They make you self-reliable. So I've heard a couple of cases where, somebody's psychiatrist has gone out of the way and done conversations for people and all of that. But I think in my case, what I've learned, and all through my experience with a couple of therapists that I've been, and majorly with Madhu has always taught me to find, like, I know that the answer is hidden in me. So they will always encourage you to explore your emotions. to find your own solutions. I mean, it's all inside you, and they will just bring it. They're not your problem solvers, they're facilitators.
Very
So-
well said. Very well said.
Yeah.
So just to add here, how to go about finding one, I think this is same as any other, let's say a doctor you want to find, right? So like I'm suffering from this frozen shoulder. So then what do? How do you find? So you will ask around, right? You'll ask anybody who is going through that, and you'll ask in your circles, and then you'll go through reference. So that can be one very good way, I will say, to find a good therapist. But having said that, not every therapist can, what should I say, like will suit, I'm not finding the correct word, like will be comfortable or will be suitable for every person. So it may need, let's say, if you're not, so like how Anupama was saying earlier, that give any yourself and the therapist 3 to 4 sessions to decide whether you are comfortable, whether it seems to be working, whether you think that it will work for you or not. And, then take a call, and, the process can be as simple as finding any other doctor that you will find.
And I think
So
now-
she has a follow-up.
Anybody-
She has a follow-up thing, Arvi. So she basically wanted to know whether, there are so many terms which keep coming up now, like CBT, talk therapy. So is there a particular therapy model which is appropriate for her, is what she's wanting to know, I think. Because she's asking CBT better hai mere liye ya talk therapy better hai?
Okay, CBT is a talk therapy only. All right, it's most of the therapies are talk therapies, like we talk. Okay, unlike some EFT wherein it's like some tapping or something, that's a different thing. But otherwise, all these are talk therapies. We talk during the session. So again, there is no right or wrong therapy. Okay, the therapist will be able to kind of see which will work better for you. In my opinion, most of the therapists would use an eclectic approach. So not really kind of one that's CBT or REBT or, anything like that, or ACT. So it depends. So any therapy is a good therapy. That's a very generalized answer, but that is what it is. You really need to see what is working for you.
So
And
by,
mostly,
I just thought elaborate on the eclectic in case it's not clear to everyone.
yeah.
So eclectic is a mix of, the various therapy models. And nowadays, most therapists or psychologists use from the kitty, they borrow from the various therapy models, including CBT hai, REBT hai, TA hai, and, so that's called an eclectic approach. So I would say the mantra is aap 3-4 session karo. You will know whether, this suits you, and you can go ahead and you can make your decision.
All right. I think Jairaj Sheth ka jo follow-up question tha, does a person seeking help from a therapist becomes over-dependent on the therapist? I think that has been answered by Shubhi, right? That a good therapist will help you to not become dependent on the therapist. Okay. So they will empower.
For some reason, the one that you just said, but it's not visible.
Oh, it's a direct message. I can see
Oh,
that.
okay, that's why.
Okay.
Okay, Sanaya has her hand raised.
Yes.
So Jairaj is answered. The direct message is answered, right? So that's taken care.
Yes.
All right. Okay, Sanaya, you can unmute and if possible, come on video and ask your question.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I actually don't have a question, and I'm not going to put my video on. I've just woken up.
No problem.
But this is more to do with the same question. It's kind of like an answer, but it's just a personal experience. It's not about the good therapist. It's more about the therapist that suits you. Because like many of the people out here have had, I've also been through therapists, like I've been through books that I read. And after a very long time, I have narrowed down to Dr. Madhu, and she's been extremely, extremely helpful. The point is that at any time, it will always differ from therapist to therapist. Like you may have the best in the world therapist, and that person may not suit you because their style or their format of therapy or something may not be what you are expecting. And at the same time, I would say that even the same therapist could be very different uh, in a different situation for you. So really, I think what people have said, that give time. I think time is a very important factor when it comes to therapy, because it's not a one time, pill or something that will suit or cure you. Therapy is not a cure as such. It's an ongoing process. It's a process where you have to work on yourself, and it really depends on the therapist at the time. It's not about a good therapist or a bad therapist. It's about the therapist that suits you at that point in time. I think I've kind of covered what I really wanted to say.
Thank you, Sanaya.
I just want to add one line that I heard Shaheen Bhatt saying, that it's almost like finding yourself a date. Like you go through many to find you have to give chance to many before you find a good therapist. So but you have to see that what suits you. So it's a funny an analogy, but it works.
No, definitely, it makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
We had Jetrali also raised.
Yes.
Hi, Jetrali.
Madhu, hi,
Hi.
Madhu. I am
Hi.
sorry. I am actually suffering from autoimmune disorders, and I'm not in a uh, state to face the camera. I'm
Sure,
all
no
over the
problem,
place.
Jetrali. No
So
problem,
I
Jetrali.
just wanted to say, Madhu, I'm a practicing counselor and a therapist.
Mhm.
And to answer the questions to find the right therapist, I figured that, it is like you said, that, take 3 and 4 sessions to feel whether the mentee is comfortable with you or not. First, give her the leeway. Second, I thought that many a times, many disorders like what I am going through, it is not really understood by a normal counselor. Like a person coming through a cancer survivor, who's a cancer survivor or a rape victim. So that person is the best for that person, for the mentee as well. So over there, we use the personal therapy, which could be a Rogerian therapy, which could be a Freudian
Yeah,
therapy, and a mixture of TA and REBT when it comes to, like, so what is it that, what is so earth shattering about there? Giving the direct, indirect approach, active directive approach kind of a thing. So I think it is always a mixture of all the things together, from depending from time to time how the patient is reacting or whether he is receiving. When a personal counseling, which is almost like
yeah,
mollycoddling, and though we are taking out the resources which is like kind of hidden within them, we are trying to tap those resources which they are unable to see. But at the same time, sometimes you feel that that is not working. This person needs a little bit of more push. So that is when a
absolutely,
CBA
absolutely.
comes
It's a
in
cups.
and a
It's a
CBT REBT comes
yeah, yeah.
in, if I'm not wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's what we were saying when we were saying eclectic. It's a customized kind of approach which the therapist should
Needs
use,
to
because
have, yeah.
needs to have, like, not one approach would suit every person. That's very, very good point made. Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to say is, it is very good to pick up skills for the counselors, apart from doing the models, apart from doing the transactional analysis or a CBT, RABT, and a Rogerian approach, taking up the anger management, taking up certain screen de-addiction, taking of understanding where you're going. These skills also help and intertwine into the counseling process. So the more
That's
of
for the counselors. Yeah, yeah.
counselors, I think that can add up to that, and that will be answers also, and help in the therapeutic process for the counselees who are coming.
Absolutely.
So that was one point that I wanted to bring out.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jetrali. Hope you get well soon. Take care.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any questions? Any more questions?
There is nothing
I
in the
think.
Actually,
nothing in the-
Madhu, I had one more question. I'm sorry to interrupt.
problem.
Sure, sure.
I have a question.
Sure.
Now, I just wanted to know that, when I'm reading now, one of the counselees that I'm attending to right now, so I have been, this is the sixth session, of which 4 sessions I have taken, like just to figure out with a low cost and everything. But I know that the client is not coming up with the full disclosure. She is hiding, she is constantly she's telling what she wants to say, she's not telling the undergoing process, and very, oh, okay, I was frustrated, I was bullied, but bullied for what? She doesn't have the answer. When I ask you, okay, when you mean bullied, are you
Right.
sexually bullied? Are you physically bullied? Are you mentally bullied? What kind of bully? No, I don't know. Like, I know I have just been bullied. So how do you get into that, and how do you provoke the person or to anger or to
Okay,
get out?
so
Because I can see clearly.
I get your question, Jetrali. I get your question, but I think this is a question from a therapist to a therapist. So I think we can take it up separately. We will definitely connect there, right? This I mean, audiences wherein they are not like counselors or therapists.
Okay,
So
okay, okay. I'm
right,
sorry. Yeah, okay.
we'll definitely talk about it
Okay,
anytime.
okay.
Okay, yeah. But
Yeah,
thank you for your
sure.
contribution.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Anupama, are there any more questions?
No
No, right?
questions yet. I'm just typing out our email addresses on the chat in case anybody wants to reach out later. But there are no questions on the chat. Anybody has any questions? We are here.
Even if you have some questions coming up later in your head, you can always reach out to us on our email IDs, to either me or Anupama. Just put it in the subject line, Mental Health Awareness Forum 3rd edition, so that we know it's not a random email.
Madhu, I'll give you a Gmail address. I have 2 addresses, Gmail
Yeah,
and
Gmail.
Gmail.
Yeah, Gmail, madhuisaria70@gmail.com. All right, so I think, yes, the only thing I think we need to, will be closing now. Any of my panelists would like to say some closing remarks, one message which they would like to give, one short and crisp message which they would like to give to the audience?
Madhu, I think the first thing is that since we are, even the mentees are or listening to this, one thing is first, something goes wrong, do not avoid it. When you are knowing that your inner self is not the person you are actually, and you're feeling something, do not hide it. Second thing is that probably I would say try to dig deeper into it, that what is contributing to the problem. One recurring thing that is contributing to the problem, that probably they can start themselves by that.
Yeah. So if there is a pattern, what
Pattern.
Chitra, if there is a pattern, identify that, okay, this is happening again and again, and then,
Yes.
Yes, work on that. Okay, Sanya, one short and crisp message from you to our audience.
It's Sanya, right? Okay. So my message would be that all feelings are valid. So without judging yourself, if you are feeling low, if you're feeling not yourself, then just without judging yourself, reach out for help, reach out to a therapist. That's a mistake I did because I was listening to others, but I would say just listen to yourself and what you're doing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes, Shubhi.
I think I would want to point out on one indicator or a pattern that people should really look out for, because I'm seeing a lot that around me. That is, if your first instinct, if your first response to anything is anger, and which I've learned in therapy is a very safe feeling to go to. So that is something that you should always look out for. You're becoming too snappy, you're getting angry, you're not able to logically look at things first, but get angry first. That is one very big signal of, a trauma response.
Okay, right. Aditi?
I feel like for anyone, this is an awareness forum for anyone who's concerned about anything with their mental health, whether they have need to look into it, whether they not, whether they should at least try therapy or not. Just ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like you do a session and nothing, you don't do a session and nothing. Just any concern in your life, just ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen? Usually, you'll be able to talk yourself into whatever you're trying to run away from.
That's a therapy question. All right, all right. Great. Yes, Samya.
Yes, actually, I want to point out two things here.
Mhm.
First is like whenever we get hurt, कोई चोट लगती है तो हम band-aid लगाते हैं, right? So when we get some kind of an emotional hurt or emotional pain, we should try to come up with treat it as an ailment and try to heal it. Or whenever we need time, we want to like reach out to someone, or when we need some help. Like taking help is a sign of courage, not a sign of weakness. First thing. And second thing I
Beautiful.
would say, second thing I would say is like during this journey, this is a long process. Okay, you might lose hope, you might lose it, you might get irritated, but the times when you lose hope, just stay curious. What next can happen? So I would like to connect to that. For the times when you can't stay hopeful, just be curious that for me, particularly, I'm a very religious kind of person. So prayers and keeping that faith and belief in my God helps me a lot to be that curious and hopeful. So I hope this will help others as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anu, from you?
I loved the last, which, you said where seeking help is courage and not a sign of weakness. So I think that is something we should, which I would like to emphasize and tell our audience further. And yes, there are confusing times and there are difficult times and things may, those signs. And one more thing that I would like to add on is that we learned or we heard about some of the signs and symptoms from our panelists today. But it's also important to know that, each of us are different. And what we experience, each of us experience can be different. So, don't go into the thinking that, oh, ye hai, to aisa hi hai. It is always best to take a professional help if you have doubts and if you want to get it clarified and not go into a self-diagnosis mode. And it's a sign of courage is something that I really loved and want to emphasize more.
Yeah, thank you. I have a couple of messages to give. Okay, first and foremost, as I always say, nipping it in the bud, meaning शुरुआत में ही उसको आप ध्यान दे दीजिए and उसको whatever needs to be done, work on that. As my panelists are going on saying again and again, कि at least go once. Let अगर आप see it's like it's not that okay every single problem something happened and then you are running to seek help. Okay, so there are 3 areas which need to get affected for you to know that okay now it's time that okay मुझसे खुद से नहीं हो पा रहा है, now it's time to seek help, take some professional help. One is personal meaning like your sleep, your appetite, your routine, your energy levels, all of that. So that is going for a toss for a prolonged period of time. Second is your social meaning your relationship with your family, friends, they are getting affected. बहुत बार आपको ऐसा सुनने को मिलता है, like people around you would be saying like I'm having to walk on eggshells around you. कई बार हमें ऐसा हमारे आसपास के लोग बोलते हैं. That can be a sign that like what's happening, like Hamisha, why are you snapping all the time? I'm having to walk on eggshells around you. So your relationships, second area is that your relationships are not going fine. Like in comment also, like in the chat also, somebody was asking that friends are going on canceling the plans on me. So that can be, warning sign, I will say, like sign to look out for. Third area is your professional. आपका जो work life है, जो भी है, that is not going fine. Kuch problems wahan pe bhi aa rahi hain, right? Either you are seeking, या तो आप बहुत overwhelmed feel कर रहे हैं, you're not able to really kind of do the work the way you would want to, things are feeling out of control, इस तरह की चीजें हो रही हैं. So अगर ये तीनों areas, personal, professional and social, if these three areas are not seeming to be in control despite your best efforts, right, then seek help, seek professional help, and there is no harm. It's an act of, definitely it's an act of courage, not a sign of weakness. Okay. Another message that I definitely want to give my audience is, do not be scared of mental issues, mental health issues. It's not to be scared of. They are actually, these emotions are trying to protect us. Even depression is trying to protect us because they are so difficult emotions that we are going through that the system shuts down. That is depression, right? Depress meaning to push something down, right? And that's what our body is doing, our mind is doing, because they are so difficult. So it's pushing it down so that we can, in that moment, take care of ourselves. But problem happens when we are not able to pull ourselves back, right? So, it's not to be scared of, okay? And a person can become absolutely fine. They can completely live very normal lives. We don't really have to stigmatize this in our own heads and for the people who are around us. अगर हमारे आसपास भी कोई ऐसी चीजें कहीं बोल रहे हैं, कि उनको कुछ दिक्कत आ रही है, तो please acknowledge, please listen, that okay, like validate their feelings, that okay, I understand that this is what is happening with you. You can share it with me. Talk to me whenever I'll be there whenever you want to. Okay. And let's all really do our bit towards improving our mental health, because I think that is really crucial. It's crucial because it can really make or mar your entire life. That's what I've seen. Matlab, pura system shut down ho jata hai, and it's all areas of your life can get impacted. So, yeah, that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you so much, everyone.
To just one
yes,
thing.
yeah.
Everybody present here, there's a request here that for the past 3 years, Madhu and Anu have been putting a lot of effort into this initiative. And all of us are panelists. We are, we couldn't be more thankful. I think I speak for everybody for the guidance that we have received. And there are a lot more people. आप लोग join करते हो, and I think it's a sincere request from us as panelists that just try to spread more word.
Yeah.
And हम अपनी तरफ से जितना इसके बारे में बात कर सके उतना better होगा, because there are people around us जो generational traumas लेके चल रहे हैं.
Correct.
And we can be of very much help.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, that's really, let's really all do our bit, because it's there everywhere.
Yeah.
We all know at least that one person, who does need help. Okay. And so thank you so much, my panelists, Anupama. And
Thank you so much.
thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Akshata Naik is asking, do we have a WhatsApp group? No, we don't have.
We don't have a WhatsApp group.
We do it twice a year. These awareness forums are held twice a year, once sometime between June. This time it got 1st July, January and June, mostly it's like that. But you have our email IDs, so please feel free to connect with us. And
Thank you,
once
Madhu.
again, thank
Thanks.
you so much. Thank you so much, all the joinees.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
You can stop the recording now.